Well, we are barely a week removed from the initial start of this whole Warhammer Civil War saga, if you will, and things have just escalated to like a borderline nuclear level at this point. It's insane the things that are going on behind the scenes. So, in case you're wondering what I'm talking about, in response to Games Workshop choosing for some strange reason to go on Twitter and say that these characters that have always canonically been male have always had females in them without any explanation other than because we said so, fans have rightfully been frustrated, infuriated, pissed off that this hobby, this game that they've spent decades learning about, playing, crafting, modeling, painting their models, collecting their armies, spending thousands of dollars each, can just be changed, at the snap of a finger, like it doesn't matter. Like none of it has any, none of it's important. It doesn't matter what you've studied, what you've read, what you've played. It's all irrelevant because we can just change all of it at our own whim. And so in response to that, places like Polygon have put out articles saying why Warhammer 40k fans are freaking out over a female custodes in the new codex. Again, gaslighting people. And this is the situation that has led to things like the Catalyst Games drama, where battletech got basically infiltrated and taken over by a very woke community manager who began injecting her own political ideology into the game itself. And now the fan base of battletech is so fractured and divided, it is just a shell of its former self. The game has been ruined and destroyed for thousands of people who actually played the game because somebody decided that it was more important to see their own diversity and representation in the game itself rather than be faithful to the customers, to the lore, and just took a dump all over it. So that's what we're seeing going on now with Warhammer. Articles like this from Bell of Lost Souls, a Warhammer fan site, if you will, saying that only bigots hate the female Adeptus Custodes, which is completely not true, but it's just the way they're going to frame this. Reset Era, which is one of the worst, most lunatic-riddled websites you can ever visit, saying that Chuds are angry after Warhammer 40k confirms existence of female Adeptus Custodes. Basically saying that it's just a bunch of inbred hicks from the Ozarks that have a problem with it because, we hate women is what they all think they say. The Gamer, one of the worst websites on the planet, saying please shut up about 40k's female custodes. 40k fans are engaged in yet another brutal civil war, the likes of which hasn't been seen since the Horus Heresy. Basically saying that it's a loud right-wing group in the hobby are arguing that Games Workshop has broken its own lore, is pandering to the woke mob, that the hobby is burning on a pyre of its own making. That's right, Games Workshop has mentioned women again. Again, the gaslighting. Saying that it's, they mentioned women, so all these people are mad. Disregarding the fact that Warhammer has a very long, well-established history of having female-only divisions and troops, and it's just asinine that people can actually buy into this gaslighting. Grumps pointed out here that even the 40k fandom wiki has had the quoted lore changed from where it used to say, these warriors are my bodyguards, to these men are my bodyguards. Sorry, I got that backwards. It now says these warriors instead of these men. So it's like they're pretending none of this ever happened. I mean, you'll see this kind of stuff happen. You wonder, what does this lead to? Well, Wizards of the Coast is a great example. The president, Cynthia Williams, just stepped down after 2 years. 2 years at the company. The funniest thing is she came in kind of at the high point because in 2022, a lot of people were still in lockdown mode where they, Dungeons and Dragons had kind of reached normie level where people were watching it on Twitch, playing it more at home. It was more mainstream. And that's when Wizards of the Coast was at its all-time high. Here you are 2 years later and the president is stepping down. And it could be decisions like this, things where Larian Studios decided we're noping out, the one that created Baldur's Gate 3, developed it for Wizards of the Coast. Suddenly, they up and left just a few months ago, and all of a sudden you go, wait, what's going on at Wizards of the Coast? Maybe it's decisions like creating a clothing line instead of focusing on their core audience that caused their president to have to step down. And I'm not kidding, this is an actual D&D clothing line. I don't know who in their right mind is actually wearing this or buying this. It looks like it's appealing to the non-binary they-them type people, but I digress. Who wants to buy a robe for $111? Absolutely insane. So back to Warhammer, you have these people on Twitter that are just continuing the gaslighting, trying to fan the flames. People like this with the transgender flag in the bio saying, "I'll never understand the warped psychology that causes incels whose only engagement with Warhammer consists of passively consuming free lore online to think that they are the true fans, while those who support the IP by painting minis and playing the games are, quote, tourists." I mean, I've seen people who have thousands upon thousands of dollars of collections complaining about people like this, online. I've never seen somebody saying, "Oh, if you just collect the models and paint them, then you're a tourist." That's backwards. This person here is saying the Warhammer community, where you create armies of dolls based on fanfic lore and then paint them by following makeup tutorials, is a very conceptually funny place to exclude women from. Basically, he's taking Warhammer and breaking it down to, if you paint models for a hobby, you're the same thing as a teenage girl doing or watching makeup tutorials on YouTube on how to contour her nose. I'm not kidding. This is where they have reached this peak level of disrespect for the fans. So now we're seeing articles like this coming out of that Park Place talking about how there's a rumor that Games Workshop only introduced the Adeptus Custodes women for the Amazon's upcoming Warhammer 40k series. And the funny thing about this, the funny thing I find, is it's from a 4chan leak. So again, 4chan leaks, take those with like 1,000 grains of salt, because honest to God, I have no idea if this is even worth talking about or not. But if so, it seems like Games Workshop is trying to deflect in a way from their own stupid choice to try and, come up with this female inclusive representation crap. And then saying, "Oh no, well, we weren't ever going to create a model or anything for this. We just had to do this because Amazon's going to have a female Adeptus Custodes." Absolutely unreal. It's mind-boggling there at this point. And if you wonder how bad things can finally get, well, here we have now arrived at the news today, talking about how the chief financial officer at Games Workshop has sold off 2/3 of her shares amid the growing Warhammer boycott. And again, this is a legitimate boycott. People are actually canceling their subscriptions, saying enough is enough. I'm not giving you my money. I will use the old books. I will use the old rules. I'm not going to change the way that I'm going to play this game. And enough is enough. You get no more of my money, not a dime. And the crazy thing is this chief financial officer dumping 2/3 of her stock couldn't come at a worse time, because if you look at the current stock price for Games Workshop, it is at an all-time low. Not all-time low if you go back to like 5 years. But if you go back to the last year, this is a low that has only been seen one previous time. And if you go back a year, it only hit $1 less than this, I think just about the June of last year. Absolutely insane. But that's where we are right now. People have had enough. They're fed up. They're boycotting. The stock is showing that this is actually having a real effect. And the chief financial officer dumps 2/3 of her stock, clearly signaling that something is wrong behind the scenes, that there are bad times ahead for Games Workshop. And honestly, they've done this to themselves. This is something that they have done that they could have avoided, but it's a bed of their own making. Now they got to lie down in it. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about all this. Personally, I find this kind of crazy that a company that had this kind of a loyal fan base, that had this kind of a following, would intentionally shoot themselves in the foot. But hey, that's where we are. We've seen this with so many different companies, so many examples of poor management, woke ideology, social media managers just running amok, making a mess of things. But one company that doesn't do that is Meta PCs. And in fact, they have a ton of ready to ship and custom built PCs. They are fantastic people, great company. I've met the owners. They are awesome people. And if you're in the market for a new PC, they can hook you up, definitely make you happy. So go check them out. I've got a link down below, and I will catch you guys later. All right, and if you made it this far, thank you so much for watching the video. Thank you for being here. I do have 2 channels, Minimal Effort Podcast, as well as my gaming channel. I do have a Twitch and Kick for my gaming channel. We do live streams over there occasionally, maybe once a week. And then if you are in the market for a new PC, make sure to check out Meta PCs. Click the link I have down below. Use code TBO at checkout for a special discount. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.